in terms of markets out here. Ajay Bodke, Head for Investment Strategy and Advisory at Prabhudas Lila, that is joining in. Ajay, morning. Thanks for taking the time out today. Let's start off by getting your thoughts in terms of the earnings season itself, in terms of a scorecard out here. Ajay, because clearly the cue that the market was working with, it was more on the election bit, but in the backdrop, you also had the earnings season that's more or less concluded. What are your thoughts in terms of the way the earnings is panned out and the outlook that it's now throwing up?
I think the earnings season has gone more or less as per expectations.
Okay.
The market wasn't really too enthused that the corporate India in general would be able to beat the consensus expectations handsomely, because the entire rally has been predicated on the hope that with the new government firmly in the saddle, it will, I think, in the budget roll out a slew of measures to kickstart the moribund investment cycle, will spell out its plan on medium-term fiscal consolidation, and put in place policies to specifically help revive the core sectors of mining, power, transportation, and oil and gas, along with urban infrastructure. I think specifically if you look at some of the sectoral trends, I think one is seeing that in some of the large PSU banks, the trend clearly is emerging that the upgrades and the recoveries clearly are now are higher than the fresh slippages. We saw that specifically in case of SBI, along with a few other large PSU banks, which is kind of giving hope, Priyank, that hopefully, I think, with supportive policies in the second half of the current financial year, I think one clearly will see on the ground an improvement in aggregate demand, which should sort of help sectors like capital goods and engineering, construction and infrastructure, and above all the largest of them all, which is the banking sector. So I think the trend towards cyclicals, which has been evident in the run-up to the elections, in my opinion, should continue. At the same time, one needs to keep in mind that the global economy is on a very firm footing. US and Europe, I think, clearly are out of the woods, especially America, and hence the global sectors linked to global trade, be it IT or be it pharmaceuticals, also should form part of a portfolio. So judicious mix tilted more towards cyclicals, but also having certain defensives should be the ideal mix as one goes into the current financial year.
Right. Ajay, L&T, that's the big number that we're tracking. We did see the numbers come out and guidance intact, and a very positive sort of note struck by the management in terms of their outlook going ahead. How are you expecting an L&T to open up, or what's the kind of outlook you see for that counter going ahead?
Yeah, I think the numbers have clearly surprised the market. 41% growth in bottom line, aided by a very strong beat on the operating margin front, albeit a part of it because of lower forex losses, as also some of the write back of provisions has sort of surprised the market. Our internal view is that a target price of around 1800 in the medium term over 6 to 12 month period on a fundamental basis is what we are looking at in Larsen. The company has guided well insofar as order inflows is concerned. 20% order inflows they're looking at in FY15. Also, I think both on the international front and domestic front, they are seeing a sort of positive trajectory for growth. They also have hinted that IDPL, one should see some sort of raising of capital in IDPL, and the IT business also, I think, is doing fairly well. So all in all, I think having a diverse set of clients across the process industries, which should gain sort of with a revival in demand, I think should help L&T. Although I must say that L&T is trading at 17 times FY16 based on the core earnings. I think it is ideally placed for any improvement in the Indian economic scenario, and I think that will certainly form part of my core portfolio along with Thermax and Crompton Greaves. Because I think Thermax is one company which is free cash flow positive, has multiple sort of levers of growth insofar as heat exchangers, boilers are concerned. They basically derive their demand from various process industries, chemicals, sugar, oil and gas, cement, steel. So I think as the core sector starts improving, I think Thermax is ideally placed. We are expecting a price of around 1,050 rupees to 1,100 rupees in the medium term on Thermax. We are expecting a very strong earnings growth of around 33% this year, followed by 26% next year in Thermax. And the company is trading at 22 times FY16 earnings. The other company we are also positive on is Crompton Greaves. There we are expecting again both European operations and Indian operations to continue to post good numbers. I think these three companies we would recommend capital goods.
All right, Ajay, just hold on, sir. I'm going to come back to you and get some more perspective on sectors there, but just want to quickly mention the pre-open that we're picking up right now. Take a look at L&T, 4% almost in the pre-open. The market, though, the benchmark indices are just indicating some positive bias right now. 36, 37 points on the Sensex is what we're seeing. Nifty are currently up almost 80 odd points, but we'll wait for that to just get a little bit more of a stable course. But it's L&T on a stock-specific basis that's on the radar. And talk about the currency today. It's seen a little bit of weakness. 59.25 is what we're seeing. Remember, the GDP number was a little bit of a disappointment that came out on Friday itself. That number came out post-market hours. That's the other one that we were tracking pretty closely in terms of the way the GDP numbers were panning out. So that's really been the other talking point. But 59.26, Anupriya, this morning in terms of the currency.
Weaker set of numbers from the GDP, plus commentary coming in from the finance minister as well. Arun Jaitley sort of highlighting his priorities in order. So the statement says credible fiscal plan, controlling inflation and then growth. So it means that sub 5% mark, it may take a little longer than anticipated to get above the 5% mark, which means for 8 straight quarters we've been below that 5% mark, and that's not good news. The worrying part as well being that the fiscal number that he's getting is also not very encouraging, down to 4.5%, but that is unsustainable as well, as most economists are saying. Bhaskar Panda on the phone with us to give us a HDFC Bank view on where the currency is really headed. Bhaskar, the word on the street seems to be that this rally is over and the euphoria has now been priced in as the economic reality starts to hit home. We're going to head back towards the 61 mark.
No, I don't believe that we are going back to 61. Obviously, the turnaround has started from 58.80, which was a very important support oblique resistance. Therefore, I think this rally could take us towards 59.50, 59.60 kind of thing in the initial phase. If we go by technical parameters, and after that there will be a relook of currency. Yes, we are moving with other emerging market currencies such as Korean won and others, Indonesian rupiah, so on and so forth. So therefore, we are not out of sync with the markets, not out of sync with the dollar rally in the this phase. And obviously, we are waiting for ECB, RBI policy, so on and so forth. Therefore, I think this rally will continue till 59.50, 60. That is my view.
All right, Bhaskar, thanks for that. And that's really the big cue. Policy tomorrow morning, and more importantly for global currency is going to be Thursday when the ECB comes out and they're likely to actually put in more money into the economy. And that's going to be a really big cue coming in for easy money, and that impacts globally, so watch out for that.
All right, so big policy cue there for the markets. And thanks for getting us those updates on the currency. But, you know, Ajay, that's the other important bit. I mean, markets so far in the pre-open are actually trading just marginally high as what we're seeing currently. Sensex up roughly around 90 to 100 odd points. You got the Nifty up by 56, 57 points as well, is what we're seeing so far. But the big question, Ajay, out here is, do you expect any surprise coming in tomorrow? Is the market going to be closely tracking the commentary from the governor tomorrow? What are you building?
I think I personally don't feel that there would be any change in the rates tomorrow. A couple of things. I think clearly the inflation numbers, although have started trending down, they are still at unusually high, 8% on the consumer inflation side. Also, there are worries about what kind of impact would an El Nino have on the spread of monsoons, and that is something that the markets are clearly factoring in now. I think they'll wait for the commentary from the IMD, which should be out in the next couple of weeks, about how they see the monsoon, the geographical spread of the monsoon. I think insofar as the trajectory of inflation is concerned, I think people are clearly banking on the Urjit Patel Committee's guidance about ensuring that the CPI trends down to around 6% by December next. And I think based on that, the expectation is that on the fiscal side, a strong fiscal consolidation map being laid out by the Honorable Finance Minister, it should afford more room to the RBI as we head into the second half of the year to adopt a more conciliatory and more accommodative monetary stance. But insofar as now is concerned, I think all eyes will be on how the monsoon pans out and the government's fiscal consolidation plan in the medium term to be spelled out, I think, in the budget. These two factors will determine the RBI's course of action.
All right, so that's the call coming in. Ajay, your call on some of the auto names, because we've got sales numbers filtering in. Very, very marginal improvement right now, but there's an expectation it's going to get better. M&M, Hero, some of the numbers that have already come out. What's your view on the auto pack?
Yeah, I think on the auto packs, clearly the demand environment, I think improvement again is predicated on how the aggregate demand in the economy pans out. As also sort of, some of the names in the two-wheelers, clearly the demand out there clearly is linked to the monsoon effect. So I think having seen a substantial rise in the run-up to the elections, I think the auto stocks, in my opinion, should take a breather, should consolidate and move sideways. There could be a time correction as against a price correction in some of the names. Market will continue to focus, in my opinion, on names like Maruti Suzuki. As also, I think, some of the CV names, one already has seen a doubling of price in Ashok Leyland. In Tata Motors, obviously, the CVs do not contribute. The Indian business itself doesn't contribute as much in the total scheme of things. But markets will keep a watch on how the CV cycle pans out. I think auto ancillary is the area we are focusing on. In specifically, a company, Motherson Sumi, a strong 4 billion euros of order book they have in Europe. The company has done a small acquisition in America. And I think we are looking at a medium-term price target of around 325 to 350 in case of Motherson Sumi. A strong sort of earnings growth of around 28% the current year, followed by around 37% in FY16, and the company is trading at 15.4 times FY16 earnings. So I think this is a stock which we would advocating investors to have in their core portfolio.
Ajay, just hold that thought. I have my colleague Saloni also joining in right now, and she's got a story that she's breaking right now on the currency derivatives bid itself. And Ajay, just hold that thought. I'm going to come back to you and get a comment from you on that. But Saloni, first, the big exclusive that you're breaking this morning.
Priyank, what we've learned from government sources is that RBI has finally agreed to open the currency derivatives market for FIIs. Remember, this proposal was first mooted in the 2013 budget, wherein the then finance minister had proposed that the market should be opened for FIIs as well. Now, what we've learned is that there are some riders for the investment that is opened up. So what it says is that FII investment up to $10 million will be without riders. Above $10 million, FIIs can only take long positions. No short selling is allowed for investments above of $10 million. Also, it says that investment riders will help to deal with sudden volatility, because a sudden liquidity burst in the market could swing the rupee market. Also, Finance Ministry is expected to notify these norms very soon. So clearly, we are seeing that finally there will be a lot of liquidity in the currency derivatives market. This proposal has received mixed response from several parties, but what we clearly learn is that RBI has given its go-ahead, has written to the Finance Ministry, has said that they are okay in giving a go-ahead to opening up of the currency derivatives market for the FIIs.
All right, so it's a big move coming in as far as the RBI is concerned. And probably we'll get some clarity coming in tomorrow as well, when we'll have some the policy coming out, probably some release regarding this. But Ajay, just purely in terms of what we are actually picking up regarding the currency derivatives itself, in terms of the FI itself, this seems to be a big enough step, because, with the kind of strength that the currency is actually built up right now, you think these kind of bold measures are going to be, you probably see more such bold measures coming up?
I think I do see this heralding sort of, a more strong and decisive measures from both the RBI as well as the government. This is a harbinger of one of those of the process, in terms of opening up of the currency market. And I think with an avalanche of dollars flowing into the country, I think the time also is ripe for the RBI to be bolder, and in terms of freeing up the currency market. Because the RBI's job clearly will be how to adroitly manage the currency, because The up move has been pretty sharp from 68, from the depths of despair in August, I think till 58, on the back of, I think, $8 billion that is coming just from 1st of Jan in equities and roughly another $3 to $4 billion in debt. And with a lot more money lying on the waiting in the wings, in case the government were to announce a policy which is more supportive of foreign direct investment in a plethora of sectors, I think with the exception of multi-brand retail, as they have said in the manifesto. So I think the RBI's job clearly is how do you ensure that the exports in India remain competitive in the wake of this avalanche of dollars flowing in. And also I think some of these strict measures that they had unveiled in August to help stop outflows. I think now that the tide has reversed, how do you sort of slowly but surely reverse those measures? And I think the measure that you just mentioned is, I think, a step in the right direction, and all of us should applaud that measure.
All right, Ajay, always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for joining in this morning and getting us perspective, both in terms of markets and also that big exclusive that we just picked up regarding the currency derivative itself. All right, on that note, we'll take a quick break. But before we do that, I want to quickly mention the markets for you because it's indicating that you could see a little bit of an uptick of around 0.5%. And the stock to watch out for is L&T, which is up almost 4.5% in the pre-open. We get you more perspective on that after the short break. Stay tuned.
While all of 2013 was a short for SEBI's coming out with a business trust.
So I think that should be a headline.
Program 3, 2, 1, kill.
What a CEO knows, what a CEO needs.